Oh, it's good to stretch, right? I think we should all do it more often. Stretches and deep breaths to really ground ourselves. Especially because I want to speak about something that may be a little sensitive and a little um if you want to cry or feel angry and want to scream, please just feel free and don't hold back. A huge part of allowing and integrating all of the things that we're not comfortable expressing. For example, crying. Sometimes we hold back our tears or hold back how we really feel about things because we don't want to cry, because we don't want to come off a certain way, or, we don't want to look like a pussy or some shit, like whatever. Who knows? People have so many reasons for things. So don't hold that in. That's all I'm saying. If you feel a certain type of way today during our new discussion about death, dying, and bereavement, I really wanted to discuss ceremony and the importance of having a ceremony or a ritual, and how it can really emotionally, sorry, that was my dog, how it could really emotionally, like, do some damage if you do not process your grief in any way, and if you don't have something to go back to really, help you with your grief, such as a ceremony, some type of, yearly event, like, whatever it might be. um so I want to get into it. However, I do want to light some candles and, really ground myself and breathe, and I invite you to do that too. um yeah. All right, let's get into it. I'm going to put some music on, my friends, just so we have some ambiance. Ba, ba, ba. Oh, these dogs, they want to here with me, but it's so hot. I don't know how to put my screen. So gross. Stop chewing on it. You are so stinky. Get away. Go lay down. I don't want stinky puppy. You were bad today. You were bad today. Puppy. Go lay down. Go lay down. No. Go lay down. Go lay down. You want to go inside? Inside. Is there a lighter? Ooh, pretty. Hello, my friends. Welcome to an episode of the Salt Circle, where on Wednesdays we discuss the intricacies of death, dying, and grief. This week I really wanted to have an episode really authentically about ceremony. Having a funeral, having uh whatever you believe in or your culture believes in, or maybe just doing your own thing. And especially how you can really morph that, especially to benefit you when you have themes that intersect death, dying, or grief, like, codependency, being no contact with, dysfunctional people, um, kind of certain things that might come up, and you think by not having a ceremony or by not participating in a ritual, maybe that's best emotionally. And like that can totally be true. But I really do feel like if you don't have anything, like any kind of ritual or any kind of distinctive event that kind of marks when someone died or when the dynamics around the death really, take hold socially or legally. Like, for instance, like when someone dies and someone becomes a widow, like when that really takes effect as opposed to the moment of death. Like there's so many things to consider and so many things that happen when you're going through grief. And I don't know, this is just going to be a safe place where we can talk about it and think about it and experiment with having, a ceremony that's exactly what you need or exactly, going to honor the relationship you had with that person. For example, and, I've had 2 weeks that I've been trying to do this topic. I've had like little scripts and little PowerPoints and stuff that I made up for myself about like how to really like approach this topic. And for 2 weeks, I just couldn't. So I've thrown away the scripts and I'm just kind of going into this discussion really authentically. So, for example, the dog wants to come back out, but it's too hot, buddy. It's too hot, my guy. Give me 1 second. Okay. Okay. So, ceremony. Let's just start with the basics. What is that? For the most part, people look at ceremonies like it's a funeral. It's a wake. If you are Jewish, you're gonna sit shiva, I think it's called. If you have really powerful religious or family beliefs, that is what you are going to do. There's a community that kind of comes together for the most part when someone is actively dying or has died. Oftentimes people band together after someone has passed away to kind of give assistance to the people that remain. And, you know, and I'm talking about from my own personal experience. People will also, when they're coming together or when the dying process is happening to someone and the dynamic of like caretaking, household responsibilities, hierarchy of the family or whatever, when like things start to like change, like, oh, he worked all his life and now he can't even walk. You look at that person differently. A lot of things change, right? And people will come to you people will come to you and tell you the most fucked up, random, deepest, darkest family secret. Like, you'll get like a random time grandpa will approach you in the dead of night, like, while you're trying to like clean up like the blood and shit from like your dad because he's like an alcoholic and his liver is like shitting out and he doesn't care. So he's like drinking and like shitting and like he's going from the fridge to the bathroom and like whatever. Um, People will just come to you and be like ready to purge this emotional, baggage. So, a lot of things happen when uh the death, dying, or even when the grief process is happening. And it's really fueled by community that is brought together by the event, by the ritual or the ceremony. These communities bring traditions, whether it's religious, cultural, or just like what you guys do because you're just like a really cool fucking family or like band of friends or whatever the case may be. Um, And there's so many different ways to do a ceremony, like not even thinking about it in a religious aspect or a cultural aspect. I think now we're even seeing people be really conscious about, the earth and pollution. And there's ways of, green funerals, like green burials or whatever. Like you turn into a mushroom or a tree or coral reef. And that's all really cool and stuff. So there's, a shifting, like, I think in a lot of different generations and decades, the death and burial process was always relegated to religion. And then things became more relaxed, I think. And now you can do whatever the fuck you want for the most part. For the most part, right? Within reason. You can't just, and things always cost money too, right? And like the logistics. So that's why it pays to talk about these things ahead of time with your loved ones. Um, and then when the ceremony comes, it's not a surprise. People aren't fighting over like, oh, you're not donating her organs. It's like, well, she fucking wanted it. And they're like, well, we're not doing it. It's like, what do you mean? Shit gets messy. Um, But I think ceremony is also a really good place where things can get hashed out, like long feuds or things that have always been unsaid. And it's a very interesting period of time, I think, that process, when you're really in touch with mortality, because a lot of people, including myself, we pretend we're just going to live forever. We pretend we're all just going to die at the end of our lives of old age, 90 something in a bed, getting head or something. Like, who knows? Who knows? Why not? Especially with the way that like medical science is going and insurance loans or whatever, whatever, whatever. But I'm trying not to lose my train of thought, but it's very difficult. I don't know. See, I think I hope for that. You always want to hope that funerals or terminal illness diagnoses are going to like bring people together and like mend things. And there's definitely a possibility for it. I think if, people are really conscious about what's going on and what happened and getting over it, you could always make amends if you want to get over it. Um, but, in my family, someone would said to me once, because what the dynamic was my father is a drug addict, since he was like 13 years old. He's just been this terrible, terrible, off the charts drug addict who has been enabled by his parents, my grandparents, to the point where he's still like a 13-year-old who just has like dumb amounts of like money from his like trust fund daddy. And I won't say who it is, but someone said to me, because it was obvious that the grandparents would eventually get old and die, and then he wouldn't have money to feed his addiction. He wouldn't have anywhere to live. Like he was completely dependent on his parents, despite being like terrible to them and being like a literal parasite. Um, so there is always this sense of like impending doom, not just with a really, full blown drug addict of a father, but also with two elderly enablers. It almost felt like you saw the fucking mushroom cloud off in the distance. And it's like, that will get here in like no time, but I have some time to watch it like fucking like plume up. And that's what it feels like. You're just waiting. And I think that's why I'm always just, in a sense of panic, right? But someone said to me, I really thought that when so and so got sick, that he would just snap out of it. And being like in my late 20s at the time, I was just like so jaded. I was just like, how the fuck could you believe that? Like, because I remember years and years and years ago, with like when I was like a tween, when I was like 13 or 12, my mother said to me that she was told by someone, I won't say who, she was told by I don't even give a fuck. She was told by my dad's dad, my grandpa, that if she had a kid, he would like settle down. And she ended up having a kid, and he never fucking settled down or like chilled the fuck out, like sobered up. Like, but my grandparents like never really like believed it to be what it was. I don't think like they had the capacity to believe that, like they needed to believe he was sick to justify all the things they've done, the bridges they've burned, the fortune they squandered. Like they had to believe he really was, oh, he's just sick. He's not on drugs. It's like, yo, what do you mean? Like, dude, shit was so fucked up. But anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, someone said to me, like, oh, like, I thought, like, he would, like, you know what I mean? Once the terminal illness came forth and it was, doctor sealed in a fucking notarized, like, little fucking note or whatever. Um, So that's why I understand, because I haven't had a ceremony with either of my grandparents. Any of I've literally never had a funeral for anyone. I'm now realizing, the closest I got to something was with my, a boyfriend's grandpa when I was like 17, 18. Gosh. But, that's why I think it's important to create, especially if you have, generational trauma or family dysfunction, or you're no contact and you get a call from the hospice nurse and they're like, yo, your dad wants to talk to you. Like, I'm the hospice nurse. Like, he's dying. Like, hey, what's up? Like, sorry, like, the surprise. That's why you didn't recognize this number. Like, they get you. And, like, hospice nurses are the coolest fucking people ever. Like, this one hospice nurse literally, like, brought me back from the brink of insanity when my grandma was dying. She validated me. She called me. She's like, your dad's fucking nuts. And I'm like, thank you. Like, holy shit. Cause I was in like a little microcosm of dysfunction at my grandparents' house. And it really was like stepping into another dimension. So when grandma was dying and you had to have hospice nurses, certain nurses that drop off medicine, other nurses that deal specifically with cleanliness and bathing. You get the fucking grandma wants a church guy to come to like bless her or whatever. And like you bring his ass over. Like dude, oh my gosh. And like for people to really see and like even like say shit to like my grandfather, and like even to like my dad's face, just like, yo, like you shouldn't be smoking cigarettes in front of like an oxygen tank. And I'm like, yo, they won't listen to me. Like they would literally gaslight me so hard, and I'm just so fucking like hardwired to just survive there, that like I just like I can't function there. And I have a recording, actually, not on this phone, on my other phone, which is inside, and I'm not going to get it because I can't go through that right now, maybe on like another episode. But I have a recording of my dad that I just like needed as proof, even for myself, but I've never watched it. Because I confronted him about smoking cigarettes inside when grandpa had a breathing tank because he had COPD, and then grandma had a breathing tank because she was literally dying of squamous cell carcinoma in her fucking lungs. And he's just like, I'm not in my house. And it's like, you are literally not. And my grandparents would just be like, can't you stop fighting? And I'm like, oh, I can't get into it. I can't get into it. I literally like will black out from rage because I was not able to react in a way that the me that I am now, if that shit happened now, like, I feel so ready, you know? But the fact that that shit happened when I was just like in such a bad place already, and like I had no shadow work hours, and I like, oh my gosh, but it was like right before I really like, because that's when I fucked off and I moved to Idaho, and I was just like, fuck everything. Like, I cannot, like, I need to like reset. Like, I need to do a hard reset. Um, one day I'll get into it. One day soon, because I've been thinking about getting those things off my other phone. I have like several text messages from my grandpa acknowledging, in his own fucked up way, acknowledging, you know, that it wasn't okay. And I'm just like, there, finally, final fuckingly. But like, how far does it really go? You know, when like this has been a person who, even after death, has continued to be like a fucking obstinate motherfucker just because he cannot like let his son face his own consequences. Like, but you gotta. So especially when shit's dysfunctional, especially when shit's fucked up as sin, and it's gonna make you need to spend a lot of money on therapy. When shit's like that, like, you need to have something, I think, to not only like come and like decompress, to get it out, to just cry and like tell people, tell your community, you know, like, this is terrible, this is my experience, and for them to validate you, you know, I think is really important. Um, my grandparents didn't want anyone to know that they were dying, so it was a very isolated process, and I think in part because they were trying to protect their son, they didn't want anyone from the family to come see how bad it was, especially when grandma died, because like the house went to shit. They just, because no one would take care of it. Grandma did everything. They were an old school fucking family. And despite, you know, how dysfunctional the relationship with my grandma and my grandfather was, and this is something important that I've been thinking about too. Like, I don't want it to sound like, you know, having a ceremony or a funeral or doing something is going to be like some kind of breath of closure. It's going to do something that like augmented, it fucks, it nurbles your fucking reality and makes you just suddenly better. It just makes all the trauma, all the dysfunction, just like, it makes it like, oh, you're okay with it. And like, that's not the case at all. Like, I have such a complicated relationship, even in death, with my own fucking memory of it, and like shit that like my aunt would tell me about like what psychic people have said about the situation. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I like, they've never came to visit me, you know? It's just like, well, I wouldn't fucking want to visit me either, but like, whatever, that's not the point. Um, and like, there is to some resentment, because not, I don't want to say resentment, but I obviously regret reacting certain ways or not reacting certain ways when, you know, they were in the process of dying. Um, I think having a good community is really important. And I think if you are the one who is facing your own mortality, it's important to let people in and let people know, you know, to isolate yourself. Um, you know, you should you should just allow this part of, you know, life not be hidden. And I don't know if there's a sense of shame that comes with it, or if there's a sense of, you know, I'm honestly not sure, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe it was just an anomaly with both my grandparents because of the dysfunction with my father. And the fact that literally like grandma was like one of 17 kids and grandpa was one of 12. I have no idea. And the fact that my entire life, like maybe like 1/8 of them have ever like popped in and out or like were in the periphery for a little while, like the fact that everyone fucked off because of the dysfunction and the enabling that was going on in that little microcosm of fucking insanity, dude, it was a very sad thing. Especially because I found out some of my other relatives, like my grandma was one of a million. She had a bunch of sisters, and when a couple of them died, throughout her life, and so her and some of her other sisters would take care of that sister in whichever home was available. It was such a different time, and I'm glad I was able to do that for grandma. Like I'm very, I'm I just wish I did it better, especially how it ended for her. And like, don't even get me started on how it ended for grandpa. Like, that is something I'm still not able to like really face. But like, sometimes these little realizations, or, like when all of a sudden, like, the pieces just fit together and you get like this eureka moment. My hair is wild right now. I feel like a housewife. Sometimes I get that out of nowhere from just daydreaming, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't like face like actual like introspective like analysis right now. Like I can't, like, let's just like think about like anything else. Like holy shit, brain, like it didn't have to be that serious. Um and like puppy, it's too hot out here. I don't want him to come out. You're low on disk space. All right, I'll deal with it later. Oh, give me 1 second. Hey Google, turn on sunroom light. Got it. Turning on 2 lights. Okay. What was I saying? I don't even know. So I'm going to take a little pause. We're just going to take a small break, and I'm going to see if anyone has commented. Let's see here. There was a very angry person the other day commenting whatever. So I just want to make sure I'm looking. Oh, there's a lot of comments over here. I got these strong arms. You're funny. Right. Okay. So what was I saying? Ow. Right. I like this ring, but I hate that it always gets stuck in my hair. Whatchamacallit? Thank you, man. You know her feet though. Booty, no. What are you doing? Watch out. Watch out. Okay, now grab it. Like, out, out. Fat boys. Okay, now then. Yeah, so there's a lot of unresolved emotions with me, obviously, from being a caretaker for my grandparents. And then having them die. And literally, you guys, nobody said anything to me. Like, no, like my one aunt and my two cousins, like that was literally it, just because like we're all like very close, like we're all like we tried really hard to escape the dysfunction and have succeeded. Um, but like literally no one else from the family. I was literally like, I'll go into that maybe another time if someone reminds me, but there was, also no obituary. There was just like a standard one that, the funeral that you get processed at will like just shit out for you, but it's very cookie cutter standard. You can make your own, but like literally no one did. I didn't even think about it, like I truly I didn't even fucking think about it. But yeah, they were just cremated and given to their daughter, my aunt, the one I just referenced. Um, but there was never like a funeral. There wasn't even a wake. Like there was literally nothing. There wasn't even a fucking Facebook post, my guy. Like whatevs, I guess. Like no, it was like nobody cared. And I guess that's what happens when you spend literally your entire life forsaking everyone and everything to enable your son. Um, and my grandparents chose their life, and they really did not care about their death or what was going to happen to them or who would take care of them, or they really just wanted to make sure that their son was financially protected. Um, and even their son didn't, there was, like he's literally like incapable of functioning as a person. He's still like a 13-year-old. So like he can't drive. He doesn't have a bank account. He's never like, he doesn't work. I don't even think he would know like how to like navigate finding out which funeral home had, your parents' body. Like he's not like he's just been systematically stunted for the sake of his addiction. And completely enabled to do so in every way you can think about, as courtesy of his parents, my grandparents. So I can understand. I can truly understand why everyone just said fuck it, and they washed their hands of it, and they said, if this is how my brother or my uncle or my sister or whatever, if that's how my grandparents wanted to live, which they made it very clear they will always choose their son over anything, why even be a part of that? You can't even come visit because he will steal your purse or he'll try to hijack your car, and his parents will never blame him. They will always bail him out of jail. They will, even if the footprints in the snow lead back to the house and he has the keys in his bedroom, my grandparents would never, not for anyone, not for anyone, not even their own sisters or brothers or like their own parents, like they would never admit that it was their son. That's how insane they were. That was the environment of neuroticness that they created. So I totally understand not wanting to be a part of that. And especially like if they had kids. Why would you bring your kids over to that? Like, absolutely not. Like, fuck that. That's insane. Like, right? So I get it. I have very faint and few memories when I was very, very little living at my grandparents' house of, barbecues with like 30 or 40, like a lot of people, or, Aunt Lily and Uncle Joe. I remember their faces vaguely. And I'm pretty sure that's what their names were. And I don't know if, I don't think it was a grandma's sister. I think it was like friends of the family. And they would always stop by, like a lot of times in the summer, and they'd make apple pies because we had apple trees on the property. And there was Uncle Sally and see, like, I honestly don't know because it was so long ago, and then they all stopped coming, and they just completely dropped out from, that dynamic of family, that there was no, we were not with the rest of the tree. We were a branch that was like snipped off and making its own tree in a different pot somewhere else, you know? Um, and like I said, it's complicated. Like I do understand the fucking off. Like I get that. But was it really that they had no idea? And that's where I feel responsible. Like maybe I should have reached out, but it's like I don't fucking know these people. I don't even have their phone up. But if I try, see if it was me now, I would try way harder. I would be more resourceful in my thinking, and I think having to go through it, you really realize all the things that need to be attended to and thought about. So it's really worth it thinking about it now, you know? Who would you contact if someone, grandma or grandpa or mom or dad or someone was dying and like you needed help from your family, either emotionally or, like you just need them to know because they should know? I think my dog is lost outside in the yard because he's old. But it's still, I don't know. I still get very emotional about it because it's like, come on, man. Like, maybe if we banded together, we could have overcame the toxicity that was my father poisoning my grandparents. And like, I just, to try to handle that alone as like, I was like 29, I think. I don't even remember. It was it was insane because I really did it by myself, like for almost the entirety of my grandma's terminal illness. And she was given 4 weeks to live, and she stayed for like 12 weeks. Like she really, I don't know. I wish I gave her more dignity with her death, and you really realize too how rare that is, especially people pass away alone in nursing homes or, alone in hospitals or just alone in general. Like sometimes I'm afraid that I'm going to fall and slip in the shower and just bust my shit open. Knock on wood. And no one's going to find me. And then that's it. The dogs are going to eat me. And they're going to die because I'm scrawny as shit. Want to go inside? I don't know what you want. I told you it's hot out here. Yeah, so even though, and my grandparents died, I think 3 years ago. So there's literally been, it's weird, It's a very strange feeling to have that loss, that, that person is gone, and all of the thoughts and love and instances that you want to have with that person or share with that person or give to that person, you can no longer give it to them unless you have a set day and time to do so at a funeral, at a wake, or at a yearly remembrance ceremony. You know, um, when my grandparents were alive and dying, because fuck getting, any reprieve, they were very delusional and sick themselves. They were just as sick, I think, as my dad, which is sad to say because grandma really just tried to survive. And I think all of the electroshock therapy just really like fucking like she didn't stand a chance. Like, and it's a shame because, like, I think she really just wanted to protect her son, and it just, this, I don't know. Especially if you believe in that whole mind-body connection. Like, my grandfather, one of the fucked up things he told me as grandma was dying in the middle of the night, I'll never forget this. And I actually have it recorded on my other laptop. I gotta get all this shit one day, man. It's fucking insane when I, like, actually say it out loud because it's like, who actually deals with this? Who's ever fucking had to, like, go through, like, I, yo, but grandpa came up with me and he was telling me, like, you know, he always tried to do right by grandma, but, like, she was always very, like, she had a very hard life, very hard upbringing. I don't know anything about it. I wish I did. I know very small fucking, oh my gosh, paralyzing snippets of her life story, and yeah, I get it, grandma. I get it. Just Jesus Christ. I wanted her to be at peace, especially while she was dying, and she didn't even fucking get that. And it's fucked up because she was so delusional with keeping her son safe that, like, she really was just, like, she would tell me, she's like, I want you to stop arguing with my son. And I'm like, I'm not fucking trying to, but, like, he's taking your pills. And I was like, bro, grandma, yo, grandma, this is gonna fuck me up. Don't say that. I can't, I have to stop him. Ah, but I was the villain. I was the villain to her. And I caused her to not have a peaceful death. Like, I should have, but whatever. Whatever. See, I think by not having ceremony or community or something to commemorate or, really detonate the grieving process or that dynamic fundamental change in your family structure, your emotional fucking understanding of life and people and all this shit. You know, um, I forgot to tell about grandma's story. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, Jesus Christ. And I think especially when there's so much dysfunction, or if you're no contact and, like, you're feeling guilty about not caring about your dying mother or whatever, um, it will eat at you. I mean, look at me. I am absolutely chewed the fuck up. I'm gnawed perpetually, eternally. To have a set day and time to really commemorate this person, even if it was, this was a fucked up person that, like, did fucked up things to me. We had a fucked up, complicated relationship. I think it doesn't absolve them, and it doesn't mean you forgive them. It doesn't, negate what you went through. It's just, it's good for you to have that. You need to have a direction for that grief, or where you can unload that grief despite, the dynamic of the relationship, or despite how much time has gone on. And especially because we can really do it in any way that we want. We can have a ceremony literally by ourselves, like, just doing our own fucking thing, like getting drunk as fuck and howling at the moon and, asking, raging, why? I think it's all really important. So maybe next week we can go and make a ceremony together, because I have my grandparents in a Ziploc sandwich baggie. In the same one, they're just mixed together because who cares, whatever, nothing matters. Like, the fuck, right? Oh man. And we can, really go into our own grieving process, even if it's a little bit, just to kind of purge out those stagnant emotions about what should have been, what could have been, what you had to say, what you didn't say, the actions you didn't take, or the fact that the relationship is done. Like there's not, you can't ever go back to them and talk to them, get more insight, reconcile ever again, or, try again to make them feel better. It's just what's done is done. And that can be really hard too. I think by having a ceremony, it also kind of, really stamps on that ground saying they're dead. This is a new arena that we're entering now without them. And, to have a time, a place, or a thing to do to really, like, showcase that, I think it's important for the human mind. We need that, that parade. We need that flashiness or that, that decoration, that note on our calendar. I don't know what to call it, but we need that kickoff, that starter. And it's hard to do, I think, especially, by yourself or when you're not religious and you don't have, strong family bonds or a cultural compass to direct you on how best to, show that you're in mourning or be in mourning. So that's why I think it's, just important to go with however, your heart feels. We can get into it more next week. Like I said, we can create our own ceremony and we can figure out what to do to create that ceremony. Maybe it'll be a 2-part episode. Who knows? Or maybe it'll be a shorter episode located on the TikTok. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and check the chats and see if anyone has chatted. No, nothing on YouTube. Okay. Alrighty. Oh well. I'm just talking to myself. That's fine. So yeah, that was, kind of the basics or the meat of what I wanted to talk about the importance of ceremony and how it can really be detrimental, if you don't have one. You can have a ceremony in any kind of way. And having a ceremony, even with dysfunctional people or for dysfunctional people, I still think it's important. It's important for us. I know that I'm still needing to do a ceremony for my grandparents. And come to think of it, on my mother's side, the grandparents over there, and yeah, it's just wow. Even I realized too, like my stepfather died, and I wasn't invited to, like, I didn't do anything. Like I was just a stepdaughter. I just whatever. My mother didn't include me, so it was just it's and it very strange, very strange. It was like he never existed in my life. I don't know. Maybe I would have a small ceremony for him or just incorporate him into a larger type of ritual that would be, for multiple people. Um, I'm still in the process of adjusting to, this new setup. So we'll definitely be changing how we'll be able to approach rituals and creating our own rituals and sharing in rituals together. Just want to make sure I don't light anything on fire. And it's very hot, so maybe closer to the winter time, it would be a better season to get into pyrotechnics and salts and whatever else we're gonna do. There's probably gonna be some more bread involved as well. Mm. Make sure to stay hydrated. Make sure to drink up. Make sure to breathe. I'm always clenching my jaw and my shoulders are up here and I'm holding my breath, and it's because all of this emotion is stuck in my body. And one of the best ways to get it out is to talk about it and to talk about it freely. I know I say that and then I stop myself from talking a lot of the time, but for the sake of not rambling for hours and staying on topic, especially while I don't have someone who can like corral me back to like, uh a blueprint that I make up. But it's really important to allow yourself to explore all these different things and to allow all the conflicting emotions and unresolved feelings just to let them bubble up and forth. And if your body gets a physical reaction from your emotions, like, which is very possible, emotions are fucking powerful. They will come and fuck you up, I'm telling you. Just let it happen. Get sweaty, become stinky, cry, scream into a pillow, punch your mattress. Don't hurt yourself. Don't break anything. But there's a lot of, I just got to end it there because we're going on an hour and I definitely need to get sleep and take a shower. I am slick. Okay, my friends. I guess we'll turn on the music and stretch and blow out the candles and really focus on breathing and really take in what we talked about today and how you kind of feel on the subject. Is there anyone you want to talk about this kind of stuff with? How do you want your ceremony for your death to be handled? How can you make that possible? Or is there unresolved grief that you want to work through? Because I know I have a ton of it. Oh, okay. So let's put on some music, huh? Great. Right. I hope you have a really good night. I hope you have very interesting dreams. And if you do have interesting dreams, please let me know about them because I am diving into my talent for dream interpretation. If you want to fuck around and find out, right? Until Monday, um, no, keep growing, my friends. I'm so proud of you, and I'll see you next week.